piano lesson number 19. Today I'm going to be talking about sight reading, how to sight read and how to do it easily, and some of the tips and tricks and rules of sight reading so that you can do it faster and more efficiently and practice it and see how to go with that. Okay. Alright guys, so believe it or not, there's actually whole books devoted to sight reading. So this is what the one in Canada looks like. It's called, well, book 6 is the grade, so this is just a random grade 6, 4-star sight reading and ear tests book. So daily exercises for piano students by Boris Berlin. Alright, so basically what they do is they give you a piece to sight read every day, because you want to do it every single day. It's something you do daily. Now, this doesn't mean you only do one piece a day. If you want to, you can do more than one piece a day. But this is a good amount to, I don't know, keep improving without having to do a ton of sight reading. Okay, so now, what are the rules for sight reading? What are some of the things that we want to do? Now, good sight reading, here's the most important rule. I'll tell you right off the bat. Never stop or go back, ever. Never, never, ever, ever. Okay? Don't ever stop. Never stop, never go back, never look back. Pretend you're one of those cool people in the movies that when they leave their girlfriend, you know, they just don't look back. They keep walking. Oh, I'm so cool. You know, they just don't. They're the big macho guy or whatever. Who knows? Or like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's just like, I'll be back. You know, I guess actually that's a bad example because you don't want to go back. Okay. Anyway, so the idea here is do this with your hand. Okay? Now this isn't for a sign or anything. There's a reason to do this. Okay, pretend you're driving a car, or if you've ever been in a car, you notice how when you look into the distance, things seem to slow down, and when you look down at the front of your head, things speed up and everything's a lot harder. So this is the whole idea. You want to look ahead in sight reading, and then go at a speed where you can keep looking and figure out what you need to do. You know how speed kills in cars? Like, if you go so fast that you can't react fast enough, that would be the same in sight reading. So you go at a speed that's safe, a speed where you can keep hitting the notes accurately and keep control. If you go too fast, you're going to lose control of your vehicle, or in other words, the piece, and you're going to fly off the page and onto the ground, and someone's going to smack you. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so these two fingers represent two things. One is where you're looking, and one is where you're playing. So what you want to do before you start is you want to be at least 2 bars ahead, okay? Or at the very least, at least 1 bar ahead, okay? So you want to have figured out, so you want to have looked from all the way to here. So you have figured out all this before you even start. And then you're going to pick a speed where as you play with this, so it's like, dun, this is where you're playing, you're looking ahead and figuring it out while you get there. Like that. So then you're looking ahead, and obviously I'm not going to like bend my hand backwards or whatever, but you'll be looking down while you're finishing this. And you'll be figuring out what you're going to do before you actually do it. Now here's the key. You want to go at a steady pace. You don't want to be doing like this. Dun 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 dun. You don't want to be doing that. You want to pick a speed and stay with it. So if you're going to pick, 50 kilometers an hour or whatever, miles, whatever, that might be a bit faster. Okay, so say you want to pick, 35 miles an hour. You stick to that. You don't speed up to 40 and then go down to 20 at the hard spots. You go at the speed where you can safely go the whole time at that one spot. So that's where it changes, because in driving a car you speed up for the straightaways and you slow down for the corners, which would be the more difficult parts on the road. Now, here you don't want to do that, okay, because that's not music. Music doesn't speed up or slow down greatly. There's a little bit in rubato playing, but generally not in sight reading. So steady tempo is key, because usually you'll be accompanying someone, or maybe you're not always going to be accompanying someone when you sight read, but It's important to keep steady, okay? That's the most important thing. I can't stress that enough, okay? Keeping steady is number one. Now, hopefully I've driven that into you and you'll never forget it. Okay. So, now, the next thing, what are you going to do? Usually you have a little bit of time to look over your piece just before you start. So you're going to try to use that time as efficiently as you possibly can. Now, how do you do that? What are you going to try to look for? Well, the very first thing that you'll probably screw up on if you don't pay attention to it is the key signature. Okay? So if I didn't notice that there was an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp, and a D sharp, how much of this would sound very good? Yeah, that's a pretty self-explanatory question. It would sound pretty awful, actually. That's how it would sound, or it wouldn't sound right. And if you're playing with someone else who knew the piece, but you're sight reading your piece, and you're not playing in the key signature and they are, then that's going to sound really bad. And let's just hope you're not performing that. Because people are going to be like, what are you guys doing? You're not even in the same key, and you're doing all this stuff, and it'll sound very discordant and, pretty awful. So, that's the first thing you want to be aware of is what key am I playing in? What key signature am I using? Now, another thing is, do we have any accidentals? No, we do not, so we're good. So you always want to do a quick run through. Maybe there's a lot of accidentals on this piece. Like over here, we've got some C sharps going on. Okay? That's because that's written in D minor. So if it's in a minor key, it's going to have some accidentals going on. Okay? So, you want to figure out what key it's in. You want to figure out what accidentals are present or recurring, because a lot of the times you'll see the same accidentals because the composer's trying to do something with it. Okay? It's usually, accidentals aren't usually an accident, unless they drop their pencil and it magically makes a sharp sign or a flat. They just like, boom, it drops and it just does it. That's not going to really happen very often. So, now, what we want to do is once we've done that, then we want to kind of get an idea of what style of piece is this, sort of. Now, if you look at this is called chorale style writing. You've got the up and down ones. This is probably a Bach piece or something, written between Baroque and Classical period. Probably not Romantic, but it still could be, because you're still allowed to write it. I could write a chorale style piece if I wanted to. Now this is keyboard style here. That's keyboard style. So what kind of a piece is it? Is it something that runs? Is it something that's rhythmically challenging? Is it something that's really dense? There's lots of keys there, lots of chords. So what kind of a piece is this? What kind of feel does it have? So something that can tell you the feel to it is the time signature, other than looking at the notes. You want to look at the time signature. This is 3/4, this is 4/4, so this will probably have a marching kind of feel to it. This will have a more dance feel to it. And we can also take a little bit of, what does that tell us? Andante. So these are walking speeds. So there's really even no reason to go fast at all. Okay? Now, you want to start slow. It's way better to go slow and accurate and actually play it steady than to go too fast and just mess it all up. Because fast music itself doesn't really sound that good anyway, especially if it's wrong. But slow, correct music actually sounds pretty good. Unless it's so painfully slow that you could probably bake an apple pie. Well, you could peel the apples, bake the pie, make the pie crust from scratch, pop it in the oven, take it out, put some ice cream on it, finish off the pie, and then be like, okay, you just finished the first bar. That'd be too painfully slow. Now but you do want to be pretty slow. Okay? Always go slower, never faster. Look for the slowness, not the speed. Okay. So, go slow, be steady, never stop, never ever ever go back. If you make a mistake, what do? You keep going. Keep going. If you make a mistake here, just pretend like you made something right and just keep going. Just look ahead, find a spot where you can jump to, and just keep going. Just keep going all the time. So look at your key signatures. Now, look at the flow of the notes. How do you want to read your notes? Do you want to read them by E, F sharp, G sharp, blah, blah, blah? No, you want to read them intervallically. So look, this is going up a second. Intervallic means by interval, right? So it's going up a second, up a second, up a second, down a second, up a third. Stays, down a second, down a second, down a second, up a second, down a third. Now that's much easier for your hand to translate than if you telling it notes, because once you tell it notes, then it has to translate that. But if you just tell it down a second, it's as simple as doing this. You don't even have to look. If I'm on my third finger and I'm supposed to go down a second, ta-da, or go up a third, down a second, up a third, right? It's very intuitive and very easy. So reading intervallically is the key. Now here's another very important aspect of sight reading. Don't look down very much. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your fingering, put your fingers in a general area where you're not going to have to move them very much, okay? And then lay them there, and then forget about them. Completely forget about them. Don't move, don't look down. You don't want to be doing, looking up and down, because what's that going to do? It'll actually sort of confuse you. It will hamper, because you need to find the notes out, and you should be able to translate what you're seeing off the page to the notes. And by looking down and up and down and up, that's going to create confusion. It's going to make you dizzy. It's going to make you lose your spot. You're going to be cutting out time that you could be using to look ahead. So by looking up and down, you're really, really working against yourself doing that. So always keep your eyes on the music, never at your hands. Here's an idea. Say you want to, go to say you need to find your long lost cousin Cecilia. and she's in the Amazon jungle. You just found that out. You got a postcard from her or something. Don't ask me how she got that in the mail, because she's in the middle of the Amazon jungle in a village named like Tikanaka. So you need to get to village Tikanaka to see her, because she needs you to come get her for some reason. So you're like, okay, I need to find Tikanaka. Well, how am I going to get there? Well, maybe I'll just trudge through the Amazon aimlessly until I find it. How many of you guys agree with me that that's not a good idea? But you need to find her anyway. So you go out there. Now on your way leaving the city that you're in, that's just on the fridge, going out to the Amazon jungle, what happens? You see a little street vendor, and he's on the side of the street, and he's like, maps, I'm selling maps. Whoa, look here, I've got maps of everywhere. You can find Tikanaka or whatever. And and he's like, $2 for my map. You're like, would you buy it or not? Well, most of you would probably buy the map. Now, would you use the map? Once you get out into the jungle, are you going to use the map? How are you going to use it? Are you going to whip out your map like this and then proceed by looking at your feet while you walk? You're like, dun, 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 with the map right in front of you. Now, how efficient would that be? Would the map be of any use to you? No, because you're looking at your feet. These are your feet because they move you in places. They move you around the piano. Okay? You might have to look occasionally down to make sure you're not stepping on a rock or a puddle. Well, a big puddle. A puddle where you could, possibly get eaten by an alligator or something. But you occasionally look down when there's a danger spot, like something where there's a big leap, right? But not when you're just walking, like playing seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths. That's just walking stuff. That's nothing you need to look down for, okay? So you only glance down when you need to, but generally you're going to keep your eyes on the map. So dun, 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 I'm walking, and da, 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 da. You're going to be getting your information, finding your way. This is like the instructions on how to get through. Okay? That's all teachers, like we as teachers can do, is we can guide the student. We're like the guide. It's like hiring a guide to take you through a jungle, right? They know how to get through the jungle really fast, but what it boils down to is how fast can the person they're guiding keep up with the guide? Because the guide can't go faster than the person that they're guiding, right? Otherwise, they'll just leave them in the middle of the jungle. So it's up to the person that is the student or the guidee. Is that even a word? Anyway, the person that's going on the journey to keep up with the guide, or in other words, to go fast. The faster they go, the faster the guide can go. Okay, very few times do you see the person going faster than the guide, right? The guide is always like hacking through jungles and like backflipping over things, and the other person's sweating and they've got this big backpack on and they're like, right? So, yeah. So it's all up to you guys basically. How fast do you want to be able to learn notes and sight read? It's up to you. I'm showing you what you need to do, but you can only go as fast as you choose to. So the more you do sight reading, the faster you're going to be able to progress in general, because there's basically two things that require you to be a good piano player, like technically. One is you have to be able to sight read. You have to be able to read the notes off the page quickly. And two, you need to have good technique. If you can do those things, you can play the piano. Now that doesn't mean you'll play it well. It means that you'll be able to play it. You'll be able to play pieces. You'll be able to learn pieces. But then you need other things like musicality, like dynamics, and you need a whole bunch of other skills. But those will come, and most people are like, there's people that are like inherently musical, and they just have music running through their blood. There's a lot of people like that. So usually musicality isn't really the problem. It's mainly the sight reading, like they're reading the notes off the page, or they haven't been doing enough scales, so their fingers can't keep up with the piece. Anyway, that's other information. But yeah, so sight reading is a very, very, very important aspect. I consider it probably up there with it's as important or more important than practicing your scales, I'd say. Okay. So, as you're going through this, so those are the rules. Key signature, look ahead, never stop, never go back. Try to never look up and down. What else? Try to follow the phrasing and the dynamics. That's like the last thing you're going to do though. And if you do make a mistake, just pretend like it's the right thing. Play it with confidence. If you play something and you're like, well, maybe, and you kind of have the body language that you don't know what you're doing, even though it's right, people question whether it is right or not. So if you play it like it's right, even if it's wrong, people will probably accept it just because of your confidence. Isn't that funny? Anyway, so there's all that. And then there's sight clapping. So these are clapping exercises that you do to build your rhythm, which I also think is very important. Okay? So those are the skills that you need, though, are to play your music, is to be able to read it and to be able to play it with your fingers. And then probably the most important part of all music, what holds all music together, is rhythm. Okay? Having a steady and controlled rhythm. Music is rhythm, basically. Okay? So you need good rhythm to create music. Without rhythm, it's sort of just random notes, random tones. Okay? It has no structure or anything about it that really holds it together. So you need to be able to play steady, like dun, dun, dun. You need to go right with the beat. Okay? Now, if you're wondering what those are actually accents, which means you should need to play them louder and stick them out. So it'd be like dun, 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 dun. Like it would just come big. It'd just be a big sound. Sort of like if all you saw was 30 white vans and then randomly a pink Ferrari. What are your eyes going to be attracted to? Now, if you said the white vans, yeah, I don't know what is going on there, but yeah. I'd be looking at the pink Ferrari myself and seeing who's driving it. Anyway, okay, so that is sight reading. It's something that should be practiced every day, and it will help so much. So just make sure you don't look up and down. Try to keep looking. Now, it could be frustrating enough to start. It could be annoying. You're going to be like, oh, how can I do this? How can I play hands together? This is actually a grade 6 sight reading book, so it's, after you've gone through quite a few books. You start out just doing like right hand and left hand, never together. So just go through it, hammer it out, and it's worth it in the end. Just keep telling yourself that. And if you feel like, oh, I can't sight read, I'm hopeless, you're not, because I was horrible at sight reading. And It's just skill. It's like if you said, "Oh, I'm bad at playing this piece," when you just started playing it, or you only were learning it for like 2 or 3 weeks, or even a month. You got to give it time. It takes time. It takes dedication, and it's far more important to do it every day for like 5 minutes than doing it like once every 3 days for an hour. Okay? It's more important to do it consistently because it's something that your brain will see that's being used often, not just occasionally for a long period of time, but every single day. So if you do it every single day, that'll help the most. Okay? So that's sight reading for you. Hopefully that gave you some ideas. So remember, look ahead. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson on sight reading. Be sure to practice it every day. It's a daily skill. Sight reading is like learning a piece. Except this is cool because once you learn how to sight read, you get to keep sight reading forever, basically. And a good sight reader can basically just learn any piece they want to. The better your sight reading ability is, the faster you can just get out of the way of learning the notes and just get to the playing part of it. So being able to sight read good is very valuable and very worth your time because it's very rewarding. It cuts down time. You'll be able to play more pieces, play a wider variety of pieces, take less time, having to learn them. You can probably do duets, you can do all sorts of things. You can play, accompaniments for people with instruments or vocal people. It's really great to practice sight reading. So try to do it every day, at least maybe 5-10 minutes, and that'll help everything. Okay, so take care guys. See you later in my next video. Bye-bye.